Okay, we're going to do a quick video on how to light your Swedish Torch or Canadian candle. The kits that I sell come with the torch log as well as a small pack of kindling. The log you're looking at is one of the larger logs. It's actually a little on the small side for my large logs, which is why I'm using that as a demonstration purpose rather than sell that to somebody. So what we're going to do is we're going to, I've actually already got one of these packages of kindling already open. That's down here. Lucky enough to have a pine tree in the house, so I grabbed a few pine needles and then a newspaper, flyer. As long as it's newsprint, it'll work just fine. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how this is done. We'll take a little bit of that and we'll shove that down in the center. Shove it down in there pretty good. And grab, in my case I got some pine needles around, so we're going to shove some of those down in here. Shove what you can down in. Grab some of that kindling. Shove that down in there a little more. You'll be starting the fire on the top, but you want to get some of this stuff down in here. If you have a few twigs laying around, throw some of those down in there too. It's not going to hurt anything. Shove that in there. There we go. Let's grab some more paper. Some of that down in here. This stuff you don't want to put quite as tight, otherwise it'll just sit there and smolder and never really get going. Putting a little bit down the cracks across the back. Alright, now grab some of that other kindling that came in the pack if you haven't already used some. And just sort of lay that on top. Make sure, don't squish it down too much, because you're basically going to create a little mini fire in the top. More pieces of that bark. There we go, that's good. Alright, let's light this up. Alright, we're about 15 minutes into the burn, and you'll see that we are starting to burn down into the log. I'll give you a close-up picture in a few moments, but just standing back from a little bit of a distance here, you will see that it's glowing down through the center. You're seeing through the slits in the log, and most of that pile of kindling on the top is pretty much burnt now. There's still a little bit of it burning, but most of it is gone, and it's now working its way down inside the log. And this is the way it will continue to burn for a few hours. Again, like I said, this is one of the larger logs, and it will generally burn for 3 to 4 hours, depending on the species of wood and just how dry it actually is. So this wood is pretty dry right now. We've had a really dry summer, so the wood is extremely dry, so it won't last quite as long. All my logs are hardwood. The one that we're burning tonight is ash. So let's take a closer look at what this is doing. So you'll see it's burning down inside the log. As I said, this wood is really dry right now, so it is going to burn a little quicker. So what you could do at this point is take a stick or a poker of some sorts and clean off the debris that's left on the top and you could easily boil water on this. It would not take very long to boil water at all. Cook up your dinner on it, and that's kind of where these things largely originated from, is a way to use very little wood to look after what you needed, cooking, etc. So, okay, we're back and we're about 2 hours into the burn. Look at that. Well, these will work for any backyard. These are extremely good for small yards because you really don't need a lot of you don't have a big fire, but it's really hot. The heat is highly concentrated, which is why they were so good for boiling water and cooking on. So at about 2 hours in, again, this is really dry wood, so it is burning a little quicker. Because this was sort of an oddball size, I did the 3 cuts in the log just as I would do with the larger logs. The unfortunate part, because this is a smaller log, it does mean that each of the pieces, each of the triangles, so 6 triangles, are smaller, so it will burn quicker than the larger logs. And probably a little quicker, maybe a little quicker than the smaller logs too. So the more cuts that you put in the log, the faster it will burn, the hotter it will burn as well. If you want something that's going to last longer, you'd put less cuts in it. Great little fire for roasting some marshmallows or some s'mores with the kids. And at about that 2 hours in, I would not suggest putting a pot of water on this at this point. If you're going to use these for cooking on, it's best to do it early in the burn where there's lots of stability and it's not super hot. I mean, if you put something on this now, you'd boil water in a real hurry, and anything that you tried to cook, you'd probably just burn it. Now, if you had one of those cast iron sandwich makers, or one to roast some wieners or something like that, this would work really well for that, but there's just no stability to sit on the top now.